Welcome ready to another edition of WCW 2006 here in TEW 2020. And it's been a little bit, but let's just get rolling with the Nitro, live from beautiful Freedom Hall in Lexington, Kentucky, I think. In front of a little under 14,000 people, as show starts out with, of course, the big, the announcers putting over a huge main event. Non-title World Champion AJ Styles taking on Eddy Guerrero as of last week. This gets to 68. Then we go to the ring, where Cassidy O'Reilly and Misty come down to the ring, basically, as the announcers put over last week, Cassidy O'Reilly lost to Maverick Chance, but attacked him viciously after the match. And, O'Reilly takes the mic and says, last week, I did what needed to be done. Your so-called Cruiserweight Champion, Maverick Chance, found the hard way that championships don't protect you from reality. Look, I'm not going to lie and say, you didn't win last week, Maverick, but you got lucky. And I'm still the future of this division. So what you saw was not an attack. It was a statement. It was necessary. I need to take the top dog in this division, and that's exactly what I will do. And then Mesias says, what these fans need to understand is Cassidy's not here to lie down and play by the rules set by those who are too afraid to seize opportunities. He's here to rewrite those rules, and I'll help him rise to the top in this business by any means necessary. And that's just Cassidy is about to continue to speak. Series music hits to a big pop as he comes out to the ring, ready for his opening match here. And, Cassie's like, let's get ready. Shiri, you've done a lot of this business, but I'm about to show you this is my time now, not yours. 52, not bad. Cassidy's, not the best on the mic yet, but we're building him. And we have the match, which is Cassidy O'Reilly versus Shiri, and it's a back and forth match, and basically a way to get Cassidy over here in Kentucky and in WCW, as, Shiri hits the spots in, tarantula kicks, but in the end, Misty distracts O'Reilly Shiri just enough for O'Reilly to his finisher, which I need to double check again. And gets big pinfall win over Shiri with these announcers put over. As it gets a 70, O'Reilly gets a 58, Shiri gets 67. Good stuff here. And post-match, O'Reilly and Misty celebrate to the boos of the crowd, which gets a 34, but it's a 1-minute promo, so not the end of the world. And we go backstage where AJ Styles, your WCW World Champion, is, and he says, tonight, this isn't about titles or anything like that. This is about reminding that I'm still the best in the world, and that's what this belt means. Eddy Guerrero, I've got all the respect in the world for you. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Because a few years back, when you were in between your stints up north, you wrestled in the indies, and you showed us respect back when nobody really was. But tonight, this isn't about that. This is about reminding everybody I am the face that runs this place. I am phenomenal, and I'm the world champion for a reason. And Eddie, nothing personal, but I'm that much better now. 87, good promo, building up the main event later tonight. And then we have a Tomico Production Agency commercial just saying, having a problem with people attacking you, with people getting involved in your matches, call 1555 Tomico or something like that. Again, I'm not good at comedy, so it is what it is. 71, not bad. And we backstage, where General Varash is with the Southern Syndicate, who have a match later tonight with Ray Jr. and Matt Sydal, which is a aerial assault qualifying match. And, Borge asks him about that match, and, Noble's like, let's get one thing straight. Me and Ray, we're just on our tag team. We're the Southern Syndicate. We're going to show we dominate just on the ground, but in the air too. Ray, Matt, you've been in our business for way too damn long. You should have walked away when you had the chance, but you're going to learn tonight that we're the real predators of this division, and we're going to ground you and clip your wings. Corey Septo says, everybody knows about Rey Mysterio Jr. and what Sydal has done, but they haven't been tested like they're going to be tonight. My father taught me how to fight tough, and tonight, I honor that teaching by taking whoever's in my path, whether it's the legendary Rey Mysterio Jr. or somebody who thinks he's a big-time star like Matt Sydal. This is our domain, and me and Jamie are going to have them two choices, to tap or hear those bone snaps. Next, and when we, in Noble Substance, when we're in an aerial assault, yes, we're going to have to climb those ladders. We're going to do that in a way nobody has before. We're going to take about everybody in that ring, and we're going to climb up together without anybody stopping us. We're the new standards of the division, and tonight we're going to prove that. And then things end up by saying, Gordy saying, see you in the ring, it's hunting season, and the Southern Syndicate is on the prowl. Not bad promo, 79, good stuff. Noble's really good. Gordy's actually not that bad at promos. And, they're getting pretty over. Well, Noble is. Gordy's getting there. And then we have, let's see here. Yeah, okay. I mean, I forget Grable's not actually that over yet. And honestly, I'm probably giving her more, this should have been a scripted promo. That thing, I keep on forgetting we actually needed script promos sometime. Oh well. This maybe could have been high 70s, but not the end of the world. Anyway, Grable comes down to the ring, as she did last week. She says, week after week, I sit in the ring, surrounded by what they call talent here in WCW, and week after week, I'm disgusted by the lack of dignity, the lack of decorum, and the utter lack of respect for the tradition of women's wrestling, and nobody embodies that fall from grace more than Tricia Skye. Skye, you parade on her like you're the queen of the ring, but to me, you're just the queen of scandal, flaunting and fighting without a shred of grace, and poised to find the legends of our past. Look at what you've done in other places. Look what you've done to stay on top of this company. It is disgusting. It's wrestlers like you that turn the scales sport into nothing but tawdry, cheap entertainment. Cue Tricia Skye coming out to a big pop, and he says, Penny, your nostalgia act is overheated. You stand here week after week talking about respecting tradition, but what you're really doing is disrespecting every woman who has stepped in this ring to rebuild this women's division. Because you want to compete, we want to entertain, we want to push this sport to new heights. And look, you want to talk grace and poise? This isn't 1950s anymore. But there are women in this ring who have grace and poise in that ring more than anybody who's wearing one-piece bathing suits in 1955 ever have. We compete at the highest level, and if you can handle that, maybe you shouldn't. You aren't the one. You're the one who doesn't belong here. Benny, fires back all the courage in the world, and supposed grace and poise can't mask the lack of discipline. You think you're the evolution of women's wrestling tonight? We're going to see who's a real challenge. I'm going to have my partner, my protege, Ariel Moore, airing out whatever trash you can have by your side. And we'll see if you can hold your so-called evolution in the ring. And, Trish sort of smirks, and then ODB's music hits to the, big pop, or decent pop, I guess, because she's not that over yet, as Penny looks disgusted, and the match is on. Like I said, 73, yeah. I mean, honestly, probably I did better there than the actual promo. And then we have the actual match, which is a fun little match, as, Ariel Moore is sort of honestly, a quasi-female dropper who's around. But a really fun match here as it goes back and forth. ODB gets a brawl. Gail gets access disgusted. Tricia Skye gets to sort of do her ace stuff, flying around, suplexes, punching, brawling. Grable lets him, slides in some of her full technical stuff. Aramore is there. But eventually, we get a sort of back and forth match. But in the end, Grable is able to Grable. There's some confusion. ODB actually runs over Tricia Skye in the ring. Grable does a quick little roll up, puts her foot on the ropes, and gets a pinfall victory over Tricia Skye in a bit of an upset and a big moment for her here in WCW. This gets a 68. ODB gets a 55. Tricia gets a 75. Grable gets a 57. Amore gets a 47. And if you won't be surprised to hear that Tricia was not happy about doing this job, but shit happens. Gotta build things up. One thing I hope in the next game is there's a way to sort of say this is a storyline thing, but I don't know, maybe not. And then post-match, Penny was out of the ring celebrating, Tricia's in the ring pissed, as this gets a 68, as a fun little post-match thing. And then we have a thing here as the Truth is backstage, and then that's just show up and just absolutely destroy him, as Raven is, quoting stuff about this is a message to Kanyon not to show up versus Redrum tonight, and eventually Brother Ray shows up, but the damage has been done. Basically, just the total complete destruction. Jim saying, "Good God Almighty, that's enough. The Truth is a competitor. He deserves this sign of mauling. Security, get in there." But yeah, and then you put over Henderson, better be ready for anything. As Brother Ray, helps the Truth get there, as he's been too late to get help out the Truth, tonight. As it gets a 71, I actually rated people, so everybody sort of had to, help things out there, and we move forward here on Nitro to our backstage promo with Ray Leppan, as, Boris asks him if he's, who he thinks is a worthy competitor here on Nitro, and he basically does his, Ray Leppan stuff, saying basically, I am the top international star in WCW, and so far I've seen nobody that actually deserves a shot at my title, because I'm Ray Leppan. I am the next evolution in professional wrestling. I am the future of this business. I am a worldwide star, and everyone here is just that step below me as United States Champion. 78, good promo as we're, building things up. Whoever could he be facing? I'm sure that's not a spoiler. That's in the, in stuff here. And then we're also backstage as AMW are, backstage doing backstagey stuff. And they're interrupted by Stacy Keibler, who's with Kaz and Yang. They're ready for a fight. And Stacy says, no, this is not about that. This is about a warning. You see, my men have been on their own for a little bit, and they have stumbled. Not because of their lack of talent, but because they need the correct management backup. And next week on Nitro, when we face off for that spot in Aerial Assault, they will be backed up by me, and that's a warning to you that what happened at the last time they were in the ring with you will not happen again, because these are the best two of the best wrestlers in the business today. And after next week, they will qualify for Aerial Assault, and now you'll just have to go lick your wounds and drink some more bad alcohol. Harrison Storm, fire back however they will. And 77, good stuff, just building things up. Like, there's not even a real feud here, just, fun stuff. We have Ken Anderson versus Redrum. Unfortunately, they don't click, which is funny. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I remember we booked this. I was warned that they didn't have any click back when he was Jonathan Toro. But, yeah, this is just a massive, just wacky, wild brawl. The Nest get involved. Ref gets distracted just long enough by Morgan for Profit to come in. Raven hit a DT on the back end. Redrum hits whatever his finisher in. And then it says submission, because I forgot he has submission. But it gets a pinfall victory here over Ken Anderson as it gets a 52. Anderson, does not take anything bad from the loss here. It was just, a complete assault, basically, from the beginning. And the beatdown is on, basically, immediately. But we'll get that in a second. As this gets a 52, Redrum gets a 50, Anderson gets a 70, not the end of the world. But post-match, the beatdown is on, and Brother Ray runs in and runs them all off. And, basically the, heel scatter as Brother Ray comes out with a chair. He helps Ken Anderson up, and this gets to 76. As the, big feud here between basically the Nest and sort of our mid-card, upper mid-card babyfaces continue. And then we have a fun little segment as we have our women's tag team champions, Annie Vidal, Nikki Radcliffe, about to, head out to party, because that's what they do, social scene, all that. When Tank Toland comes and says, look, ladies, you do look like you need an escort for your evening, and what better man than Tank Toland, the sexiest man in WCW. And they sort of, brush him off, Tank, where we're going, guys like you don't get in there, okay? We're going after the real partiers, not the, I forgot the word here, not the creeps like you, or something like that, Just sort of deflating as Toland gets upset and they walk away. There you go, just a little fun little comedy segment as this gets 66. And then we have Eddy Guerrero backstage promo. Ooh, rolled badly here, not the end of the world. 79, just quick 4-minute promo. Well, not quick, but he says, AJ, S.A., Holmes. You want to act like this for the title. It's about that title, but it's about another thing. I need to prove to everybody I'm still at the top of my game. And tonight, I get to do that in the ring on Nitro. But it's also about something else. It's about a reminder that AJ, you think you're the belle of the ball, you're at the top of the game, you face from the place, but no. I'm still Eddy goddamn Guerrero. I'm still a former world champion, and I'm still one of the best wrestlers on the planet, no matter what you may think about it. So tonight, in that ring, you're going to be reminded why everywhere I've went, no matter if they wanted me at the top or not, I've eventually gotten there. So AJ, you're not phenomenal. You may be phenomenal, but I'm just that damn better, and Guerrero family values me remind you of that. There you go, 79, good promo, building things up to the main event tonight. And then we have our, might actually be maybe they might be a better match. That'll be interesting. I mean, this is just basically your really high-end mid to late 2000s, high-flying X Division, quasi-top-end ROH match, except, when Rey Mysterio Jr. is involved, so there's probably a little bit better psychology. I mean, this is also just the era of the great Ray TV matches, so just everybody flying around, Noble hitting suplexes, Gordy brawling, Rey Mysterio hitting huge moves, but in the end, Ray actually gets rid of Gordy. Ray hits a big, modified, Rana on Ray, on Noble. Sydal goes up top, hits Shooting Stars Press on Noble to get the pinfall victory, and a bit of revenge over him for their little feud that's been going on for a few months. And Rey Mysterio Jr. and Matt Sydal qualify for Aerial Assault. This gets an 88, Sydal gets a 70, Ray gets a 92, Gordy gets a 71, and Noble gets an 85. And post-match, the babyface celebrate to a 71. And then post-match. And then we have another quick little segment here as, we have Celine, backstage. And we have Desiree Darkguns and Lexi James of Captivation coming in and says, "Aw, look at that. You had your chance at a title and you blew it once again. Because Celine, you're nothing but trash. And we're the captivating part of the WCW women's division. And we're going to get back to doing that sooner or later. And we'll be the ones that are going to have gold around our waist." And Celine just Celine just sort of like goes off and just starts fighting them both. And as an initial advantage, before the heels, remember they had the 2-on-1 advantage. Remember, Davis breaks things up, and this gets a 53. Fun stuff. And then we have a Redrum recap, and then we move to the main event. So I'm not going to quite get to it because there's something happening there. So back and forth match. You can imagine this. AJ flying around, Eddy trying to actually ground him, play the heel and also the bigger guy, eventually hitting some suplexes, hitting some snap suplexes, trying to lock him in the lasso from El Paso, AJ fighting out, hitting some Pele kicks, hitting some insane dives. This is still 2005 era, AJ, so he's about 60 pounds lighter. Hits the moonsault reverse DT. Starts to build up for the Styles Clash. Eddy fights out of it, hits the Blue Thunder Bomb, picks him for the Brainbuster. Eddy gets out of it, rolls into a sort of like Tiger Suplex. It's a quick DDT. Again, back and forth. AJ hits the big phenomenal forearm. Sets him for the Styles Clash. Eddy powers out of it into electric chair drop. Eddy actually hits a big sort of sit down power bomb. Goes up top. Frog Splash. AJ gets his knees up, locks him into a submission. Eddy eventually fights out of it, but gets him into a lasso from El Paso, which AJ fights out of himself, rolls it into a pinfall maneuver almost, back and forth. And then we have our interesting thing as basically both men, Eddy is up top. Right. Sometimes I forget things. Eddy goes up top. AJ goes up top for Frankensteiner. Eddy turns it into a big powerbomb at the top rope, and both men are down. And then, out of nowhere, the crowd pops because Rob Van Dam from Revolution rolls in the ring and starts wailing on both men. Oh, shit. Wait. God damn it. Stupid booking. I forgot to book the draw. God damn it. So, this is a draw, not a actual win, because I really would not want Eddy to win. Ignore this actual booking part. God damn it. 96, because these guys are fucking great. 92, 94. Not the end of the world. Anyway, ignore that part. And just post-match chaos as, RVD just continues to beat the crap out of both men. On Eddy, on AJ, basically as a message to both. The officials, including Bischoff, Arn, and Dusty, all come down. Van Dam, heads for the crowd and escapes as, they turn back to check on Eddy and AJ as, basically freak out over, RVD has not only disrupted one of our marquee match on Nitro, but they disrespected the sanity of our brand's competition. And, basically, fun stuff, 96. Show ends, and this gets us a 92. Good things. Good times. So yeah, fun stuff, really good show. I was somewhat worried about the main event match. I knew that they didn't have bad chemistry, but I was vaguely worried about our something weird happening as far as I don't know. The match, of course, I screw up the booking, but hey, shit happens. Not our best show, but a really, really solid show there. And wow, I guess this is what happens after 3 years into a game with 8 zillion people. One of these days, I might, maybe for the mid-year stuff, I might actually go in and just sort of get rid of all useless people. Let's see here. We guys have some evolving. Ryan Wilson, okay. Hack Myers, sure. That makes sense. You weren't doing anything. That's a show, not NLKWK is actually falling apart. So I will get to Raw in a second because they had a pay-per-view. So I'll go over that after Revolution. But let's see here. News. Stacey, I would hope you like the person that you're managing. It's not necessary. I forgot Stacey's been weirdly. Stacey, are you dating the guy? This is, I did not notice this. 1 week apart, you're hey, this Yang guy who I manage, he's really good. I'm yes, Stacey. I gave him multiple tag title reigns. That is, like, I did not notice that. Okay. Anyway, that's, like, just objectively hilarious. Yeah, nothing else much going on. IWA, Tony Zena's there. Yay for him. Ernst Miller's. I love IWA has become, like, sort of like the misfit toys of 2001, late 2000 WCW era people who have some overness. But yeah, anyway, we'll be back with Revolution in just a moment. And welcome, everybody, to Revolution, as the show starts out with the thrillers of Sean O'Haire, Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, Raven Rain, Dice, and Havoc, but I ran out of spots here, as they were talking about people, as they all come down to the ring, and of course, Chuck Palumbo takes Mike and basically says, well, last week, Kanyon, as if they're in traction, remember, that is what happens when you step up to take on the thrillers. You're just another cautionary tale of what happens when you mess with this. And look, what happened at the end there, Paul London, Jack Evans, you stuck your nose in business that you do not understand. You go off, do your little flips, flying around, getting the crowd to love you, but stay out of our business. Because this is a thriller show, and this will continue to be the thriller show. And O'Haire takes me and says, because we heard, we know that you want to tag along and got us a 6-man for tonight. It's going to be the same old Nick story where the two little flea bags fly around and take down the big bad monsters. Well, here's the problem. This ain't a storybook. This is real life. And we're the thrillers and you're not. And most importantly of all, of course, you don't have a partner. O'Haire takes it over and says, that's right. Angle's gone. Nobody's seen him since Russell War when we kicked his ass. And last night, of course, we took out Kanyon. And I know, there are people in the back. But a lot of them will make excuses to not team with you because they're scared. Others you won't even ask because you know they'll get their ass kicked. And then there's other people who are busy with their own thing. Because this is our ring. This is our company. This is our show, even if they put old Teddy Long in charge. And then, Paul finishes things off, says, this ring is our territory, and you're just trespassing. By the end of the night, you'll wish you never showed up. So, pretty typical heel promo, basically building up, a big main event tonight of Palumbo, Jindrak, and O'Haire versus London Evans and a partner, we hope. So 94, good stuff as we continue. Then we have our opening match where Chavo Guerrero Jr. beats Elix Skipper. Pretty back and forth match. Straightforward. Hey, it's Chavo. Hey, it's Elix. They have a good match together. And this gets a 74. Chavo gets a 68. Elix gets a 63. And then post-match, Chavo takes me and says, I've been gone a little while. I see things have changed, and I think other things haven't. And what I see is this new moron who has somehow walked in to TV championship named Sonny Siaki, who keeps on talking in the third person. SA, I'm here. I've won championship before, but I've never been TV champion, and I haven't started doing. So, Sonny, once you get your head out of your ass, show up next week and give me a title shot to prove if you're actually worthy of that title or not. 47, Chavo's gone a while. He's not the best promo ever, so it is what it is. But, building up things on the undercard. Then we go backstage where Emmy Weber is with Booker T, and you ask him about his match versus Billy Kidman tonight, as, basically, building up the aerial assault match. And, Booker says, Secca, Billy Kidman, you've been a world champion before, but I've been a six-time world champion, and now I'm the tag team champions. And tonight's going to be a lesson in why I got this gold, and you've got to get back up from Sherman Helms. Because Secca won't kick your ass from one end to the other, and everybody else, while I'm one of the best this business has ever seen. 76, decent promo. Booker is slowing down a little bit, but he can still do a pretty decent promo, only 4 minutes as well. But sort of just building things up here tonight on Revolution. And then we have basically a squash. Blonde Ambition, who of course got the title shot at Wrestle War, come out, Angel Williams, Natty Neidhart get the win over our Dev territory of Madison Sinclair and, trainer Amy Sakura. 5 minutes. Natty gets the sharpshooter on. 45. Amy gets a 54. Madison gets a 38. Angel gets a 74. Natty gets a 45. Just sort of building things up as the babyfaces celebrate as we move on here on Revolution. Honestly, I didn't want to throw it like a pointless singles match. There's some other options I could have done, but it would have been sort of I don't think heatless, but even doing less. At least this builds them back up and gets the women on the show a little more. And then we're backstage as Paul London and Jack Evans are approached by Jeff and Mahari, and they basically offer either one of us can team. We've got nothing. We've got no matches signed for tonight, and we dislike the throws as well. Well, Matt basically says this. Jeff says weird stuff because he's Jeff. London, basically steps and says, "Look, we appreciate the help, but we've got this. We've got a plan, so don't worry about it, okay? If things seem real bad, you can come on after the match, but don't worry about things, all right?" Jeff and Matt are a little skeptical, but hey, if you got a plan, you got a plan. 71, decent little stuff to build things up. And then we're backstage. We have a fun little segment as, of course, our real... God damn it. This is why you double check. This should be Alyssa Alexander, not Allie Danger. Again, you can tell when I have not actually booked TEW for a while because I don't double check shit. So this should be Alyssa Alexander, not Allie Danger, so ignore that part. And it's funny it's another woman, at least. It's not I don't know, Alex Wright or somebody. Anyway. So we got Nikki Rock and A Social, are with WCW World Champion Alyssa Danger. So, 3 champions, and Nikki Rock says, "Hey, Alyssa, you know what we're doing? We're after with European Disunion tonight. We're in the hottest club in town. You win." And, Alyssa's amused and says, "That's not really my scene. I'm more about the gym than the glam, and I'll just, go back to the hotel room and, get some more exercises in. Because I need all the stamina I need for my rematch against Nikita Colt." And, Annie says, "Come on, it's be good for you. A little celebration of hurting one. Plus, imagine, I'm sure you look good in a party dress just as well as us." And, Alyssa's like, "Come on, let's just focus on tonight. We need to keep our focus on European Union and show us why they're champions. But maybe, I'll consider, let's go and get a drink with you. No promises on the dress yet." And he's like, "Hey, that's a start. But we've got your back tonight. These belts mean to us as much as the championship as it means to you. We fight together and we celebrate together. All right?" And Alyssa's like, "Great. Let's go out there and kick some ass. And hey, maybe I'll surprise you later tonight." So fun stuff as far as that goes. Again, we better if it was actually Alyssa, but hey, booking is hard. And then we cut to earlier tonight where Eddy Guerrero shows up, and basically, we have our WC officials of Dusty Rhodes, Johnny Ace, along with our Lord GM, Tay Long trying to stop him from getting into the building. And Tay's like, "Playa, I understand why you're pissed, okay? You're not allowed in the ring. You're a Nitro guy. Don't realize RVD broke that, but we can't let you break things, Playa, just because RVD broke the rules." And he's like, "You're stopping me from doing what I need to do. I got a bone to pick tonight, and I say I'm there, take RVD. I don't care. He got in my way. He ruined my chance to be in the main event and get another shot of that title. So I don't give a damn about any rules, any brand split, anything. So just let me in the damn building." And he's like, "Playa, I can't. But I promise, after tonight, you'll be happy about what's going on, all right? I talked to Bischoff all night long, and we're going to have, we're going to send a message to RVD tonight. Okay, Playa?" And he's like, "Teddy, you never screwed me over while I was here, but you better keep on doing that. Or grow family values means I'm going to take you out, I'm going to take RVD out, I'll take Styles out, I'll take anybody out who gets in my damn way home. You got that?" Shay Long, says, "I got that, Playa. Just calm down, all right?" Eddie, walks away. 82, set things up for later tonight, I guess. Then, oof. Oh, man. All right. Okay, it is funny. We had a unprofessional... Okay, so here's the thing. I had Booker do a couple jobs he was not happy about, and I forgot to pay him off. And he was unprofessional. He phoned in his performance. I guess this is a complete Billy Kidman carry job because he got a 91, which means the match got an 82. And basically, this is a a match where like Kidman did some like Shawn Michaels level selling, but he did this to save the match. And eventually Booker got the one to bookend. This gets an 82. Booker gets a 62. Billy gets a 91. Booker's also still injured, so that is what it is. And post-match, we have a beatdown, but Shelton comes in and goes suplex crazy on both Humps and Kidman as he announcers can put over aerial assault at Slamboree. 4 teams, and only 1 team walk out as the World Tag Team Champions. Fun stuff, 82 again, continuing to build things up. And then we come back, and, walk hits to the boos of the crowd as, our Van Dam comes down with Paul Heyman, and Van takes the mic and says, for a long time, people look at me, Rob Van Dam, and thought, he's chill, he's laid back, we can just walk the hell over him, and he's not care as much as the other wrestlers, so they'll just let it happen. But here's the thing. Let me set the record straight. Just because I'm not yelling and screaming and gesticulating like a madman doesn't mean I care. I give a damn. I want to prove every single night I'm the best in the world, and I prove it every damn night I'm in the ring. So, what happened at Wrestle War? Getting screwed over? That wasn't just a setback. That was a damn wake-up call for Rob Van Dam. So, I took a step back. I looked at everything. And realized, if you're not making waves, man, you're just floating. And Rob Van Dam doesn't just float unless it's a nice pool. So yeah, on Nitro, I sent a message. A big one. To everyone in the back, to everybody watching on TV, and especially to AJ Styles. See, AJ, you got lucky at Wrestle War. I should be the world champion right now. And you should be the one whining and complaining that you lost a belt and to get a rematch. And look, Eddie, I have all the respect in the world for you, man. You were just in the way, all right? It was business. Just business. All right? And Heyman takes Mike and says, what we witnessed last week was not an act of desperation. It was an assertion. An assertion that Rob Van Dam will not be sidelined, overlooked, or underestimated. Whereas AJ Styles or any other competitor in WCW, the message should be crystal clear. You're either with us or you're in your way. And speaking of the so-called face that runs this place, let's see if AJ Styles has the guts to actually give Rob Van Dam what he deserves, which is a rematch for the WCW World Championship. Cue AJ's music, big pop, and also another pop as Teddy Long is with him. And Teddy Long takes me and says, hold on a minute, players. On Nitro, things got a little out of hand, and we can't have that here on Revolution. See, I've been on the phone with Eric Bischoff over Nitro, and we've been talking for a long time about what to do with you, Rob. And Rob sort of points out, like, me? See, Rob, you're lucky, because I managed to talk Bischoff down from taking this up to the WCW board. We came to a little compromise instead, and I think you're going to like what we got planned. And then AJ next to me says, Rob, you made a statement on Nitro. And I'm not going to mince words. You pissed me off. Because me and Eddie were having a classic match in front of that crowd. And one way or the other, we were going to prove actually who was the better man. But you get to jump the line around here. So I told Bischoff, don't suspend him, don't fine him, don't even yell at him. Give me Rob at Slamboree. But, and Van Dam celebrates. But then AJ says, wait, I didn't finish. You see, yes, Rob, you're going to get your rematch at Slamboree. But it is not going to be a one-on-one match. Because see, I may not like Eddy Guerrero, what he's been doing for the past little while here, but he's a damn great wrestler, and he deserves his shot too. So at Slamboree, it's going to be me, AJ Styles, versus you and Eddy Guerrero in a 3-way dance for the WCW World Champion. Big pop for that. And then, Aim takes and says, AJ, Teddy, well, we appreciate not being sidelined by suspension. Adding Eddie in this match is not something we would appreciate. Rob deserves a one-on-one match for the world title. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Whereas 1 or 2 extra bodies in the ring, or hell, throw anybody on there, the outcome will be the same. Rob Van Dam will walk out Slamboree as a WCW World Champion once again. And RVD takes over and says, AJ, Eddie doesn't matter. You're both top-tier talents, but none of you are RVD. At Slamboree, I'm going to prove why I'm not the whole effing show, but the next whole effing world champion. And AJ, Eddie, you're just in my way. So there we go. Main event signed up. 89. Let's see here. Slamboree is booked. Oh, whoops. That was if I actually did the right match. Eddie, AJ. Robin Dam. For the WCW World Championship. Good times. I can't. I'm just double checking my own mind. There's nothing else we can book quite yet. World Tag Team, Cruiserweight rematch. No, okay, nothing quite yet. Even though there's stuff that's obvious, we'll get there. Good stuff. 89. Teddy maybe brought it down a little. I mean, AJ maybe brought it down a little, but good stuff as we continue the feud. And then we go backstage where Trevor Slater comes in and sort of like, I heard tell that you guys need a partner. And, I like to thrillers. If you need somebody to get in there and brawl and fight and throw my hands, I'll be happy to help you out. And, Evan sort of laughs and like, appreciate it, man, but we'll be okay, all right? Again, if things are really bad, there's a beer bottle, get involved, but we'll be just fine on our own, okay? Just, well, man, as you take a swig, just know I'll be here for you. 74, decent stuff, just a little fun segment. As we have our 6-woman tag team match, as it's Molly Mayhem and European Disunion taking on All That Alexander and the Social Scene, and this is a fun little back and forth match. Molly Mayhem does his brawling, Cena does her technical stuff, Nikita and Alexander have their back and forth, after Alexander just won the title at the last pay-per-view. Social Scene get their double team moves, but eventually things break down. Mayhem hits a big move in the middle of the ring, and then, pulls the tights to get the win over one half of the tag champs. And the heels get the victory here on Revolution. This gets a 74. Alexander gets a 59. Radcliffe gets a 67. Vidal gets a 72. Mayhem gets a 50. Music gets a 61. And Colt gets an 80. Fun stuff. And post-match, the heels celebrate. And, and it looks like maybe European Disunion, or at least some form of them, will get a women's tag title shot in the near future. 53 for the celebration, as we're continuing to build up the, newer women. And then backstage, we have Gail Kim. And she says, you try to help somebody, and they turn your damn back on you. Because you see, Allie, I should have known you were a snake right from the beginning. But after everything went down at WrestleMania Miami, I can realize something. I'm far from done with you. You see, we fought all over the place, tearing each other apart, and yet here I stand, not satisfied, not even close. I've never claimed to be perfect. I made my fair share of mistakes. But they weren't really mistakes. They were just choices that I made that I'll stand for, even now. But bringing Allie Danger into WCW as my protege, that tops the list. That wasn't actually a damn mistake, but it's one I'll correct sooner or later. See, Allie, I brought you into this company, and I need to teach you one last lesson. I'm still the head bitch in charge of the women's division. I battled through more wars and come out on top more times than you can count. If you think our last encounter was dangerous, you haven't seen nothing yet, Allie. I'm putting you on notice. This is not about teaching you a lesson anymore. It's about setting things right and proving that in this division, respect isn't given, it's earned. And sooner or later, I'm going to show you exactly what real danger feels like. So be ready, because the danger you thought you knew, the danger zone you create, is nothing compared to the storm that's coming your way. 65, decent promo, I guess. Maybe rating Allie's overness hurt it. She's a solid promo, but still not bad. And then, okay, yeah, this makes sense. We have a fun little video as we are now in Mesias back in Puerto Rico, and we're basically like in a sort of dilapidated wrestling ring set against the backdrop of like a weathered gym. Like we see like various people around, sort of obvious from Puerto Rico, and we see Mesias shadowed and tense, sort of like in the ring, throwing people around. As we see a series of like basically training maneuvers, and we get a voiceover. He said, and it's a Mesias' voice, which might be the first time, maybe. If not, we're retconning it. They say that you walk through the darkness long enough, you start to forget the light. But what if the darkness is where you find your true self? What if the monster that lurks in the shadows is just an unmasked version of your soul? I've been cleansed, that's correct. The darkness that once consumed me and controlled me has been purged. Make no mistake, I am still a creature of destruction. This purification does not dull the edges of my being, it has sharpened them. And we see like basically a video of him like performing a whole bunch of destructive moves on random Puerto Rico trainings, I guess. Monty, you believe you've seen the extent of my wrath. He thinks that darkening with me is a weakness he can exploit. You celebrate, calling yourself how bad a man you are, unaware of the beast he had faced before, with merely a shadow of what lurks in with you now. I am no longer just Mesias. I am Judas Mesias, like the apostle of old. I bear the scars of betrayal of myself and others. But unlike him, my path to redemption does not end in despair. It is paved with the bones of those who depth my resolve. This transformation is my penance. The darkness will never be fully gone. It's part of who I am. And Monty Brown, you will learn that some sins can only be washed away by the blood of battles. A reckoning is coming. Monty, prepare yourself. So 87, continuing the feud, sort of making Mesias an actual character, as opposed to, like, scary monster guy, which, honestly, I should have done this a while ago. I just, refocused off of it. And I'm sure the internet of the time period would kill me for basically turning him face and just, basically having just be the same guy for months. And just having, those wacky segments I did where he was basically in Puerto Rico being cleansed and never following up on it. But, stuff happens. Things get dropped. Limited time. What can you do? And then we have our next recap, of course, focusing on Eddie and AJ Styles getting attacked by Rob Van Dam. And then it's main event time. This is either going to be a 90 or 80, 75. Okay, yeah. Oh, right, I forgot. Len and Evans are a terrible team. Right, they don't work well as a team, which is unfortunate because this was sort of a plan. But, they're still getting 80s as a tag team, so that's fine. So, this is what you expect. London and Evans actually come out on their own, and they do. They get their spots in, they fly around, and, basically until the Thrillers don't care and just sort of, kick their ass. They're getting there, and the fans are still behind them because this is a, handicap match, basically. But then eventually, Evans and London actually hit a few big moves. Jindrak gets tossed to the outside, double planche on him. Big move on O'Hare. O'Hare comes back, goes for a Widowmaker, but London turns into a DDT, hits a sort of drop salt, standing moonsault. Evans flies around, and it looks like they have momentum. That's when the 1%ers show up, Dyson Havoc, the former Seeker of the Sin. And then, just then it looks like they're about to get involved in the match to sort of send another message. Kurt freaking Angle makes his return, coming down to the ring, to a big pop, and, starts sprawling with Dyson Havoc, throwing them around. Dyson Havoc gets involved, and gets in the ring. Dyson Havoc comes brawling after him. Everybody gets involved with the big old brawl, and the ref calls for the bell, throwing the match out as a, basically non-finish. This gets an 80, Evans gets an 83, Lennon gets an 83, Ginger gets a 77, Or gets a 79, Blow gets a 90 because he's great. And it's on, and Angle killifies, Havoc and Dice get, myrtleized with big suplexes, and they're big guys, so it looks more impressive. Jindrak gets, killed at all, as long as Evans at a plancha out on Palumbo and O'Hare. And then he's stand tall as Kurt Angle is back, and he's ready to get some revenge, as this gets a 94 to end the show. And overall, we get a 86. Okay, good stuff. So yeah, solid show. Main event was a little disappointing as far as the match goes, but the post-match angle was good. And yeah, Angle's back. Of course, he got screwed over by O'Hare turning heel on him, causing moves to Palumbo back at the pay-per-view. So again, lots of matches that should be sort of obvious, but we're not quite there yet. And we'll see what happens here as this loads up. Loading. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, holy shit. That is kind of hilarious. Sex in the ring, obviously, but that menace though, that star quality though. Well, we'll see what he does. I do have a certain angle that might be interesting with him, but yeah, we'll see. That's sure a thing. Shit. Hey, Booker. Can I pay you a whole bunch of money? Oh my god. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm fine with this. Revolution. Okay, yeah, it has to be this. I mean, I guess, like, yeah. But, God, Johnny Swinger almost lost me half of my tag titles. That is hilarious. Wow. Okay, interesting. I mean, he's still irritated, which I'll take. But, yeah, okay. At least he didn't, like, yeah. And again, if you want to say that was silly for me, but, like, this is the part where the game is not the best, where it sort of, like, screws with you. But at least I got to, like, at least it didn't, like say, screw me over that way. Anyway, we got some people whose contracts are ending. Okay, so, wow, okay. Yeah, Nikki's good, and, I mean, thank you for saying the people I've chosen to tag champs are okay. So we got a whole bunch of contracts ending. Taz is interesting, because, like, I think in theory he isn't retired, but he's also not great, so there's no real point. I'm tempted to bring him over for his color skills, but he's not that great at color is the thing. But then again, nobody in this game is currently good at color, which, honestly, you could say for the mid-2000s is correct. He's sort of over, but not that over, so I think I'll let him stay in WWE. Molly Holly is tempting, but I think I want to keep her around. She's, like, with Edge, so I think we'll throw that in. Basically, yes, she's just happy being with Edge, and she does not want to come over, especially since our women's division is, like, full. Viscera is getting extended, sure. Jacqueline's contract, she's actually retired in a color commentator, which I think was some decent skills. I forget exactly how well. Yeah, she has the same as basically Taz, so there you go. Deborah's contract ending, no. So yeah, that's interesting. Kane's, again, maybe. Because, again, there's an obvious angle where we could put him in, and basically, I don't want to say drop him out, but, I mean, that is some overness to Leech, but we'll just have to see. Anyway. So yeah, that's that. Anything else? I mean, look, I know some people would try to sign Akiyama, but he has a 12 popularity. Ironically, Tamon Honda's out. Okay, interesting. Is Psychosis 2 over at all in the US? Not really. Sorry, this is just like some interesting things. Hector Melendez. Okay, cool. You look like a guy who books some Nitro. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted there. Let's get back to... Okay, so around the wrestling world. WWE. So they did have their pay-per-view, Backlash, which I think is their first brand pay-per-view. It was held in Queensland for some odd reason, so this also probably affected the ratings, but let's just go through things. So we had Fit Finley defeat Thrasher and Carlito Cool, which got a 48. We had Legend of Skur defeating Chantel Fierce by DQ in a women's title match. Then we had Adam Jacobs and TNA defeating Viscera, Rico Constantino, and Joey Matthews. Sure. Amber James defeated Beth Phoenix. Molly Holly and Michelle Morgan defeated Jamie Keys and Jillian Hall. Again, sure. CM Punk defeated Grandmaster Sexy. Again, Outcast defeated Sandman and Rick Steiner for the WWF World Tag Team titles. Remember, I did... what's what I'm looking for here? I did vacate them after JBL and Farouk won and Farouk retired, so that's interesting. That's what they fought to do. Bautista killed Skyfall Kane Lion, sort of like, do his push-up. Edge and JBL defeated Big Show and DDP. Sure. Christian defeated Vampire and Steve Richards, retained the WIC title. And in 84, and the main event, Chris Jericho defeated Shawn Michaels in an I Quit match in basically a WrestleMania rematch, which got 100. Actually better than WrestleMania, because of course it did. So it is what it is. So then, We had Raw's War, which had so here's the thing. The game did a wacky thing where they turned Shawn Michaels face, but they didn't do anything like on the show. And they also like sort of ended DX 2.0. So what we're saying, so in canon, what we're saying is basically they're still in Australia for God knows what reason, which is funny. But we're saying basically Punk and Lion, the former Mayor of Paris, turned on Michaels, sent him off, and like he's now a babyface, and he got like basically taken out, and like they said, DX is dead. DX is something about like the old ways or about the future, blah blah blah. CM Punk stuff. JBL did a promo, Big Show did a promo, Sandman defeated Juvie Juice, Christian Sex defeated DDP and TNA, Vampiro defeated Rick Steiner, Edge defeated CM Punk. Okay, here we go. So, Shawn Michaels and Lion defeated JBL and Batista, and then maybe that's where they did the turn. Again, the game sometimes does wacky things where they turn people for no good reason. And then the main event, Big Show defeated Steve Richards in a dog collar match. Sure. I mean, that's just some wacky bookings. Most of the time I can sort of like figure things out, but I can't. So we had Rikishi defeat Tom Maluke, Farouk defeating Danny Doring, Scott Steiner defeated Val Venus, Chuck Eddie defeated Ivory by countout, Devin Boy, Brock Lesnar, and Chris Jericho, because of course, split. So the World Champion comes over to SmackDown. Defeated Gladiator and the Outcast by DQ. Sure. Undertaker defeated Justice. So there we go. And then Kane Christian defeated William Regal and Chris Benoit in an 89. So yeah, wacky stuff, kind of. We'll see what they do. For our dev fed, for Wildside TV, Tony Jones, Henry Hernandez, Theosinid, Rick Michaels, Morgan, and Durate. Again, people are getting close to being ready to be pulled up. Austin Creed defeated Aki Bono in a match I'm sure he would talk about on a Twitch stream 10 years later. John Phoenix defeated Ryan Drago, and Lazarus and Jason Cross defeated Onyx and Todd Seskin. And then on the weekly house show, Matt Morgan and Rick Michaels won the tag titles from Tony Jones and Kenta Suzuki. And then Lazarus retained titles. Hot Stuff is getting there as far as being ready. Austin Creed and Brian Jones defeated TJ Perkins and Lance Hoyt. And yeah, interesting stuff. Like, it is what it is. Our AWQ. So they had their weekly show, right? Which I don't think you guys did not see. So Amazing Kong got Madison Eagles defeated Carla Chambers and Tracy Taylor. Perfectly fine stuff. Again, Amazing Kong is basically ready for the main roster. I don't have a spot for her yet. Madison Sinclair defeated Ashley Lane in a cage match. Sure. And Annette Blanchard, Melanie Hosaka, and Michelle McCool defeated Trisha Biggers, Trish Portia, and Amy Sakura. Fun stuff. And then in the ladies' night, we had Trish Biggers, Amy Sakura, and Ashley Lane defeated Madison Eagles, Josie Blanchard by DQ in a 52. And we had Amazing Kong and Michelle McCool defeat Tracy Taylor and Carla Chambers in a 51. And Muko Saka defeated Portia Perez and Madison Sinclair to retain the AKW2 title in a very solid match. Got 272,000 viewers on the WCW network. Whatever. Yeah, that's it. Then HWA, they had a big show. What's of note here, Ali and Silas won a tag match. Remember, this is like 17-year-old Mustafa Ali, who is probably close to his real life stats. That's why he's getting pushed. Matt Striker still your HWA title. And really, that's it of note. Weekly show, not much really going here. Oh, they did have a product change, which, hold on, yeah. Oh no, this is from before, never mind. OVW's OVW, so they had a big show, which, nope, I showed you guys that. Weekly Loop, nothing really of note here. Riptide, Lizzie Borden, McAvio's got a big win. Trim Baker, so your OVW champion, but John Morrison is at least champions. Sean Casey and Rory Fox won the OVW tag titles. Sure. And yeah. Daphne is getting some at least run here at the top of the card. But yeah, they're doing stuff. So then if we look at the rest of the wrestling world, which if we go back to last week, IBQ. Honestly, not much going on. BJW had another big show with the very interesting rematch of Suzuki and Honma getting 74, but that's about it. Let's see here. IWPR had a big show, which I showed you guys. Perry Saturn won the IWA title. Ernst Miller's still there. Van Hammer and Demon are still there, so is Midium. It's a very interesting show. But yeah, sort of a slow, not the biggest week. So that's it for now. If you're interested, go ahead and give us a like, comment below. Subscribe to our channel for plenty of TEW 2020 content, which along with this for the moment, I'm going to be going over the dev journals for TEW9, which I hope you saw yesterday with me going over the second week. But yeah, and again, I probably should have done this at the top as opposed to the end of the video, but my basic plan is to finish this year, 2006, in 2020, and hopefully by then, the game will be basically all ready to go, and any weird problems will be smoothed out, and then move this to 2007 as this series never ever 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 ends. But that's it for now. Talk later. Adios. Have a good one.